Greetings. My name is Tina Sursted. I'm a proud member of the League of Women Voters, Dakota County, and I would like to welcome you to the Dakota County Commissioner Candidate Forum for Districts 2 and 3 this evening. As always at our events, we want to remind you that League of Women Voters Dakota County is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences policies through education and advocacy. We never endorse parties or candidates. And now let me introduce our moderator, Lynn Lewis. Lynn is a trained moderator, an active member of the League, and a co-chair of the Voter Service Committee. We're honored to have Lynn moderating our forum tonight.
Good evening, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters, Dakota County, I'd like to welcome you to the Dakota County Commissioner Districts 2 and 3 Candidate Forum. Thank you to the candidates for attending tonight. We would also like to thank Eagan Community TV for their willingness to record and broadcast this event. Because this election includes more than the Eagan TV service area, we also are appreciative of the other community TV stations who will be broadcasting this forum in their service areas. The League of Women Voters does not support or oppose a political party or candidate for office. League of Women Voters Dakota County provides unbiased candidate and issue information that is used by Minnesota voters regardless of their political beliefs. Sponsorship of this forum is a public service, providing you with an opportunity to hear the candidates discuss important issues face to face. The views expressed here are those of the candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters. Sponsorship of this forum is not an endorsement by the League of any particular candidate. As a reminder, this forum is for the election of Dakota County Commissioners in Districts 2 and 3. District 2 includes West St. Paul, South St. Paul, Sunfish Lake, and part of Indian Grove Heights. District 3 includes Mendota Heights, Mendota, Lilydale, and much of Eagan. If you need to check your district, please go to co.dakota.mn.us/government/board. We will start the candidate forum with opening statements and end it with closing statements. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their opening statement and 2 minutes for their closing statement. Opening statements will begin with candidates from District 2 in alphabetical order, and then proceed to candidates from District 3, also in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be in reverse alphabetical order, beginning with District 3 and then proceeding to District 2. The order of answering questions will be rotated between districts and candidates. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to questions. We ask the candidates to respect these time limits. Please note our timekeeper, who has a yellow 15-second sign, and there is also a stop sign to indicate that you should conclude your sentence so we can move to the next candidate. Many of the questions for this evening were submitted to the League by email. They were reviewed by League members and edited for clarity. In addition, members developed some questions based on topics of interest that were identified in the community. Because of time constraints, we're not able to ask all the questions submitted. The forum will conclude in an hour. So let's begin with opening statements. The order for opening statements will be Joe Atkins, Jimmy Francis, Laurie Halverson, and Janine Hudson. Joe?
Well, good evening, and thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Tina. I guess, based on what I heard, it sounds like I get the first word and the last word, which is kind of an advantage, but I'm not going to use that to my advantage. Let me start by, I think on behalf of all of us, Janine and Laurie, Jimmy, to thank the League for hosting this forum this evening. We certainly appreciate it on behalf of all of us. So I'm Joe Atkins. I'm running for re-election to the Dakota County Board. I will start by telling you something that'll probably blow your socks off. And that is that Dakota County, during the time that I was on the county board over the last 5 years, has paid off all of the county's debts. 100% of the county's debts have been paid off. We are one of the only counties in the United States that have achieved that accomplishment. At the same time, We also were named the best county in the country for public safety and the best local health department in the nation. Those three individual achievements standing alone are a big deal. We are the only county in the country to get all three of those ever. I'd like to be able to sit here and say I take sole credit for that. I don't. I'm surrounded by phenomenal people. Commissioner Halverson, for example, who I serve with, the balance of our county board, who do a great job, but primarily our staff. We've got tremendous employees. We also have several hundred volunteers who assist us every year. In the last year alone, contributing over $670,000 worth of time and effort to help save taxpayer dollars and provide excellent services. By being debt-free, it helps us weather tough economic times. And anybody who knows what's going on in the world right now is probably feeling that. But as a result of being debt-free and not having to pay millions of dollars in interest every year, we're able to do things like provide excellent public safety, public health, award-winning parks and libraries, while at the same time keeping our taxes the lowest in Dakota County. I'm sorry, the lowest in Minnesota, of any county in Minnesota.
Jimmy?
Hello, and thank you. My name is Jimmy Francis, and I am running for Dakota County Commissioner in District Number 2. And if you live in the cities of West St. Paul, South St. Paul, or Inver Grove Heights, I ask for your vote this November. I'd like to take a moment of my time to thank our current Commissioner of District 2, Kathleen Gaylord, for her efforts and her decades of service to not only the county but to community in her public service. Kathleen is retiring, and so Kathleen, I wanted to take this moment publicly to say thank you for the work that you've done and all of the things that you will be doing in your retirement. I know they are well deserved. Thank you. To know more about Jimmy Francis and my website is forwardwithfrancis.com. What you'll notice there is also my telephone number, which is 651-321-8348. And both of those are there for you, members of my district and members of any in the county who wish to have more in-depth conversations with me about the topics. I welcome them. What you'll find, I want to point out three things on the website, and it's in the title, Forward with Francis, and I am the only candidate talking about the future activities of our district and what's important to the listening and the understanding of what's happening in our district for the future. That comes with the Dakota County District 2 has the largest population of Latino and Hispanic in our entire county. So it's important to us that we listen and understand, and what you'll find on my website is a translated website for Hispanics and an offer and an opportunity to connect. I have a translator that will help, and what you'll also find is on my website is that Jimmy Francis is a nonpartisan candidate for Dakota County Commissioner. So if you live in West St. Paul, South St. Paul, or Inver Grove Heights, I ask for your vote.
Laurie?
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I'm grateful to be here as the current Dakota County Commissioner from District 3, and I'm running for re-election this year. Due to redistricting, I was first elected in 2020, so I'm one of the newer members on the board, and look forward to being able to continue to serve the communities of Eagan, Mendota Heights, Mendota, Lilydale, and redistricting added Sunfish Lake to District 3. Having first been elected in 2020, I've really enjoyed my time on the board and seen my work on the board grow. I've been appointed to chair the Community Services Committee, where we do a lot of work on the social services, mental health, disability services, child care, and other issues, which has been a policy area passion for me for many, many years. In addition, I have the pleasure of representing Dakota County on statewide and regional boards, including the Metropolitan Library Board of Trustees, the Association of Minnesota Counties Health and Human Services Committee, and other boards where we work to raise the voices of Dakota County statewide and make sure that our legislators are hearing us as well. You've seen me around the community. I have been a very active volunteer for decades here in Eagan. Been a 20-year resident of Dakota County. married a lifelong resident of Dakota County, and here we're raising our teenage son in Eagan. I've been the chair of the Eagan Parks Commission in the past. I've been an officer on the board of the Eagan Foundation and volunteered with numerous school and arts organizations. If I get to be reelected, I'm looking forward to continuing to work to expand access to mental health, to increase our investments in climate policy, and work hard for equity.
Hi, my name is Janine Hudson, and I'm new at the political realm here. I'm the only one that's never held office. And thank you, League of Women Voters, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm going to tell you a little about myself. I was born in Mankato, and I grew up in foster care. At the tender age of 15, I was tired of the social system, and I moved out on my own. I graduated from high school in 1984, got married the same year, had 2 children, and I finished college in 1991-92 at Mankato State. I have a degree in parent education and a degree in home economics education. In 1995, I started my first job. I was planning on working in education, but God had different plans and said, you're going to work at social services, the place that you spent so much of your childhood not liking. So I became a parent educator in Wadena County in 1995, and I also then moved into the mental health area. In 2008, I moved down here to Eagan. I chose to move to Eagan because my aunt has lived here since before I was born. My mother's family was from Rice County, just right in Dundas. I started working at the Family Place Shelter in St. Paul. In 2013, I began working at Hennepin County for the MNsure program and later moved to Cash and Food. I worked at the shelter, the COVID shelters in 2020, where I learned a lot about what happens in the cities for individuals who are homeless. I'm a member of Mount Calvary. I'm a member of AFSCME Local 34, and I've been a past Boy Scout, Scoutmaster, and a Girl Scout leader. I'm running for office because we need to stop the outsourcing of our mental health services and our DD services. Clients who have a mental health issue are forced to get their services from some company that is not public service. I hope that you will vote for me. I have a website that's votejaninehudson.com. Please look at it. If you have any questions, there's an email link there, and you can also give me a call. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, candidates. Now let's proceed to questions. The response order for the first question is Janine Hudson, Laurie Halverson, Jimmy Francis, and Joe Atkins. And the first question is, as a Dakota County Commissioner, what one area would you like to see receive more attention from the commissioners?
Oh, social services. Please, please, please stop outsourcing. We need to get these services back in the county so the county board has control over what's happening. Because what I see in my family, I have an uncle and guardian of who lives in a group home, and you have to get your services for him through a nonprofit. The turnover at these nonprofits are very high. They don't always have the same qualifications. They don't have the right funding. That happens also in mental health. And so then they sometimes don't have the services. When I appealed to get these services for a family member of mine, I was told that we had to wait in line, and no one should ever have to wait in line for DD services, mental health services, or any kind of services that one's family needs.
Laurie?
Thank you for that question, and it's hard to choose, frankly, just one area because the county impacts your life in so many ways, but I would agree that social services and mental health are one of the biggest issues, and really what's underpinning that is something that a lot of folks are feeling is pressures on our workforce. We know that we have a reduced workforce currently, and we need to find ways to make sure that we are able to staff and serve people at a time when we are seeing an increase in the needs for mental health services. And so this is a top priority. I am actually convening a work group to address this very particular issue because, you know, as you've heard, we can't let anybody fall through the cracks, and the county is basically the backstop for every program that the federal and state government funds. And so when it comes to serving our clients in the social services area, we need to take important measures to not only make sure that people are staffed and can get services when they're in crisis. So the county is working to build a new mental health facility, but also to serve folks that are upstream. Make sure that we are getting ahead of crisis interventions so that we can use prevention as a tool in mental health care as well, making sure that people have the services that they need, trauma-informed services that are going to de-escalate situations quickly.
Jimmy?
Thank you. I'm going to jump on that same bus for just a moment and talk too about mental health as what I see as commissioners need to pay more attention to. And I want to take that one step further and go with the idea of mental health, but also mental wellness. It's been touched on that the crisis care is important, but before people get to that point, there is opportunity for us to intervene and have mental wellness opportunities for people. And particular, I would point out for the commissioners that their staff right now are needing their assistance and their understanding. They're the ones, if you want to look very far, look internally inside the organization, and you'll find that those employees of Dakota County are really in need of your support. They need raises, they need mental breaks, they need to be able to hire more people in order to take vacations that they've so deserved and earned. And staff, I mean internally from the clerks all the way through to our staff in the police and jail system. The sheriff's department and our jail system. Mental health and mental wellness of those in particular are an important thing I think commissioners need to know and listen to.
Over 60% of the inmates in the Dakota County Jail are suffering either from mental health issues or from chemical dependency or both. That's according to Sheriff Tim Leslie as of just a few weeks ago. The point with respect to mental health isn't just about mental health, it's about its impact on public safety. Effective treatment within the jail enables those folks that are there to hopefully avoid being a repeat offender. We also have looked at and constructed what's called the SMART Center. It's the Safety and Mental Health Alternative Response and Treatment Facility. It trains first responders, cops, firefighters, ambulance drivers, and others on how to deal with intense mental health situations. As a result, it makes those situations more safe for both the individual, but also for the officers and the first responders involved. Next, at the Dakota 911, when you dial up 911, you're reaching a system that's a partnership between the cities and the county. We've got an off-ramp now where if our dispatchers recognize that there's a mental health issue at play, not only will it go to the officers, to the police, but it'll also go to a social worker. And finally, as my challenger knows, Mayor in South St. Paul, we've teamed up our social workers with local police so that when we have frequent responders or frequent calls, social workers will respond with those officers to those homes so that the officers can spend their time on the roads protecting public safety while issues of mental health are anticipated in the home.
Thank you, candidates. The order for the second question is Joe Atkins, Jimmy Francis, Laurie Halverson, and Janine Hudson. And the second question is, how would you ensure that county residents have an opportunity to be heard at board, committee, workshop, and advisory committee meetings? Joe? Well,
first off, obviously our meetings are all public. We invite people to join us, and we've certainly had no lack of visitors. We've had plenty of public comments at our meetings. I've also been in favor of switching those meetings to other locations or potentially evening meetings. In addition to that, I believe that I may be the most accessible county commissioner for those that cannot reach it or attend a county meeting. I've got about 7,500 people now that are on an email list who I stay with in frequent touch, sharing with them what's going on at the county, doing frequent surveys, updates, And so whether you're able to attend a meeting or whether you want to be individually in contact with a county board member, folks like Commissioner Halverson, myself, and others are available both by telephone, in person, or online.
Jimmy?
Thank you. How I would ensure residents have the opportunity to be heard at county meetings? Well, first and foremost, I know it's very difficult for residents that have jobs and are working or have kids and have activities to make it to a county meeting during the day. And there's a lot of technology that's happened, so of course continuing with technology to allow those residents to have their voice is very important to me, and I would support that. I'm proposing that I would hold office hours when elected to Dakota County Commissioner District Number 2 in the Northern Service Center. And with that, I would welcome the neighbors and residents of the district, South St. Paul, West St. Paul, Inver Grove Heights, to meet me at various times that work for their schedules. Of course, I'll listen to find out what's the best and hold a general meeting time that would facilitate that. You'll also find on my website, forwardwithfrancis.com, my phone number and an opportunity to download my app. This is going to be for the future. No matter who gets in this office, there will be an application for your phone that you will be able to connect with your commissioners. I'm bringing it forward myself as an independent because I think it's so important to stay in communication with people and put it in their hands. And it's an opportunity to grow on. And so what I would do to ensure that is continue to be as accessible as I am as mayor and continue to put my phone number and my website out there for those that don't know me, that want to know, and share their information. I'm available. Thank you.
Laurie?
Well, county government is certainly one of the closest governments to citizens, and we impact your life every single day, whether you know it or not. And so having access to the governmental processes and policy process is incredibly important. I've always believed that policy making is a team sport. Nobody does it on their own, and we do it with a lot of input from our communities. And so there is an opportunity for anybody to attend a public meeting in person because we meet in our public buildings in Hastings, at times at the Northern Service Center in West St. Paul, or at the Western Service Center in Apple Valley. People can come in person. However, that's not always accessible for people to make the drive. And so Zoom participation continues to be an option for folks who want to weigh in. There's always time available at the beginning of every board meeting for people to weigh in on any general subject. And there's also opportunities for folks to weigh in on anything that is on the agenda. And those are all posted publicly as per law on the Dakota County website. But it's important to make it accessible as well. I am a big believer that we should make sure that we have archives of all of our meetings, video and audio available to anybody so people can go back and review. And as others have said, just being available in the community. My personal home phone number is on my website, and somebody was just surprised yesterday to call me at home at 8 a.m. So when I answered my own phone. So accessibility is vital.
Janine?
I think it's extremely important that the public have a right to be able to attend county board meetings. I've done so 3 times in the last year. One of them, unfortunately, my granddaughter had COVID, so they let me do it by Zoom. We need to continue to be able to do that. It's also important to be able to email them, to email in your questions. But what I don't like is all of our meetings are during the day. And for me to do that meant I had to take off work. I had to drive to wherever it was because there's no service center in District 3. I wish there was, but there isn't. So you then have to speak before the board and then try to hurry and go back to work. I'd like to see some of our meetings at night. Those of us who are working parents or even just working in the community needed to be able to speak to our county commissioners, speak in person, be able to come at night when school board meetings are, city council meetings are, and be able to say what we want to say to them. I hope that we do that. It hasn't happened yet, but that is definitely a goal of mine. Thank you.
The response order for the third question is Janine Hudson, Laurie Halverson, Jimmy Francis, and Joe Atkins. And the third question is, water quality, wildlife habitat, and natural areas are important to residents' quality of life. What is the role of the county in assuring that natural resource issues are addressed and their quality is maintained? Janine?
Well, we have to do that, partly because that is imperative to our citizens to have nice drinking water, nice parks, nice places to go, clean air. Also, we are in Minnesota, so whatever we do to the rivers are going to keep going down and cause harm to other people. That is imperative that we keep our parks clean, we keep our air clean, our water clean. I know I like to enjoy our parks. I've camped at Sacagawea with our scouts. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. I encourage everyone to do that, and I want it to stay I always consider it the woods in the middle of the city, and it's a great place to go, and it's very important that we keep that for our health and our wellness.
Laurie?
Well, there's a lot of passion for the natural resources in Dakota County, and working to prioritize greenways and parks and habitat has been a big priority for me. One of the things that Dakota County has been working on is professionalizing a lot of our natural habitat restoration. That has become a bigger priority, and we continue to create bigger investments in that. Rebuilding natural habitats for fish, wildlife, making sure that our groundwater is safe, so that we have safe drinking water is incredibly important to the residents of this community. So it provides wonderful places for us to play and recreate, but it also has a big impact on the climate in our communities. And we know that the changing climate is a huge issue. The things that we treasure about our community and our state are really at risk. And if we don't maintain our natural resources and work to preserve our natural resources, we are at risk of losing those. And so rebuilding Oak Savanna, reintroducing bison to Dakota County for the first time in over 100 years are major advancements that we have been making. Rebuilding a trout stream in the Meesville area has been an important improvement. And so all of those improvements are really important. It's important that citizens know that they can also get involved as volunteers in these efforts.
Jimmy?
Yes, I believe it's a vital role that the county play a part in natural resource issues, and they are continuing to do that. I know that this county is forefront on many aspects of our environment, and that's one thing I'm proud of being a resident and watching happen, and use those as items to draw people to Dakota County to live or vacation or go through our parks. So it's very important, and I do believe the county is vital in that. And as Commissioner had just alluded to, we all play a role in that, whether we're on the county board or not. Each individual citizen has an opportunity to participate and work towards a better environment. We do it in South St. Paul. We're a little unique. We have our own aquifer, so water is vitally important to us, and the protection of that water is vitally important to us. And we do projects continually with support of the state and the county and mutual cities, like our Seidels Lake project, where we take water from 3 different communities and capture that, pull that back out to keep the level of the lake the same level, and to purify that water and move it through the system. There's a myriad of opportunities that we have, that we've partnered with, that we've done with the schools, and we need to continue that. Even in South St. Paul and West St. Paul, we have a resource for community with our community gardens and with our compost piles and our bins to help conserve that, and it's very important that the county continue to support those efforts.
It's really difficult to encapsulate all of the efforts that Dakota County makes to protect our natural resources and our water quality. There are so many efforts that are ongoing. Building on the last question, I might add, last night I literally held, and to Mayor Jimmy Francis's point about holding office hours, I held my 104th town meeting since holding office. I started as mayor of Inver Grove. I've served as a legislator. Now I'm on the county board. The topic of that meeting, it just so happened, was water quantity in particular, but also water quality. And We have, as folks have probably come to hear, there have been efforts by other states like Arizona to proposals to take our water and ship it from Dakota County, tapping into our aquifer to the tune of 500 million gallons of water, and ship it to southwestern states like California and Arizona and Utah. We have taken strong, or we've opposed in a strenuous way those efforts. We've updated our county ordinances. We've updated state laws with the help of our legislative delegation. In addition to protecting our water, by the way, 90% of people in Dakota County rely on groundwater as the source of their drinking water. We've also preserved now upwards of 12,000 acres as permanent open space and natural areas, woodlands, and wetlands, and have become a grant magnet by virtue of our staff work and those efforts that are underway in order to bring those dollars into Dakota County to preserve acreage. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when they don't have the stop sign pointed at me.
Thank you, candidates. The response order for the fourth question is Joe Atkins, Jimmy Francis, Laurie Halverson, and Janine Hudson. And the fourth question is, how would you describe Dakota County's relationship with the Metropolitan Council? What changes, if any, would you like to see in that relationship? Joe?
Thank you, Lynn. It used to not be very good, quite honestly. The Med Council, appointed by one individual, specifically the governor, oftentimes was solely, let's just say, responsive to the governor, rather than necessarily to the constituencies, the cities and the counties that it served. With Governor Walz and the appointees that he's put on the Med Council, we found them considerably more responsive than they were before. Specifically, I'd point out people like Phil Sterner, who's a former legislator, is now our Metropolitan Council member for a portion of Dakota County, has been extremely responsive to concerns that we've raised. So while it was a little icy in previous days, I'd say it's much better now. They're much more responsive. They have been the source. I talked a little bit earlier about grant funds. I told you when I wasn't having the stop sign pointed at me that I would share some of those thoughts. And the Met Council has been a terrific source of funding for some of our natural area and parks projects. Dakota County has become the envy of many counties across the state because we have such tremendous areas to preserve, and also such outstanding parks like Thompson County Park and West St. Paul to be the recipient of those funds. So in partnership with our cities, with the Metropolitan Council, the state, and Dakota County, we've managed to do a number of terrific projects.
Jimmy?
Yes, thank you. Describe how Dakota County's relationship with the Metropolitan Council is. I have to be honest, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm the average citizen. I have no idea what the relationship with Dakota County and the Met Council is. But I'm willing to learn, and I'm, like I am as a mayor, I'm willing to talk and work with everybody. You know, it takes a lot of things to happen for things to happen, and the hierarchy that we have that involves the Met Council and involves the appointments by governors to this process, and our state legislature, and then our county board, and our cities, all takes conversation and working together, and that's what I will bring to the table. And you know, as I find out what that relationship is, I will definitely report back so that citizens do know and have a feeling of what is happening with that Met Council and the Dakota County relationship. I've never been asked that before. I've never saw that as a topic on any of the conversations. I've definitely not heard that at the doors in the district of South St. Paul, West St. Paul, and Inver Grove Heights. It's not a common thing, but of course there aren't a lot of common things with this role. But what I will bring to that, again, I pledge the communication and the collaboration that I bring already to my job, and I'll bring that forward into this new position.
Laurie?
Well, I agree with Joe that I think that the relationship has improved over the years. When I served in the legislature, I actually was on a Met Council reform work group, bipartisan work group, and we came forward with some recommendations. They weren't ultimately adopted, but I think it raised some really important discussion. And frankly, I think it was heard by our incoming governor and the current council. I also think that we have a good relationship because Dakota County is such a leader regionally and statewide on issues that the Met Council has under its umbrella, including transit, including affordable housing, including water management. These are all regional issues that we work on, and so we partner with other counties to work on issues. The Vermilion River watershed is a great example where we are have a council with Hennepin County and other partners to manage that watershed. We work with other counties to discuss how we can improve access to affordable housing regionally so that every community has access to affordable housing and it's not just in one particular community. And so that's the role of the Met Council, is regional governance, and I really think that Dakota County's leadership shows in its relationship with the Metropolitan Council.
I can only speak about the Met Council and what I've heard, not something I've necessarily experienced. I know that the county and the city were considering leaving at one time. I'm not aware that they had. I'm glad to hear that it's going much better. I do know that Met Council does transportation, and as somebody who goes to downtown Minneapolis every single day, I take a bus and then I take a train and then I get down there. And unfortunately right now we need to get far, far more security on our trains. I see individuals on both sides as you're driving by who are sleeping in tents. We have people sleeping on the trains. We have an individual every single morning that is at the Cedar Grove bus stop sleeping, and I'm assuming that's where he stays. We need to solve some of the problems. We need to work with Met Council to be able to do that so that we can protect our citizens, so that we can take those who are the poor, the hungry, the homeless, you know, people longing to be free. We can provide them the services they need, get the shelters they need, get them the health care that they need, the mental health care they need, so that we can get them housed. And housing can be a bunk and a locker. Housing can be single room occupancies, which we don't have any of here. So those are the things that I want to see working with the Met Council so that we can have a good relationship and help the citizens that we need to serve.
Thank you, candidates. The response order for the fifth question is Janine Hudson, Laurie Halverson, Jimmy Francis, and Joe Atkins. And the fifth question is, what recommendations would you make to improve public transportation in Dakota County? Janine?
Well, I kind of started on that. Yeah. We definitely need some more security on our trains. There was a big article in the Star Trib that talked about some of the flight attendants being afraid to take the train. I'm not afraid to take the train. I just think we need to clean it up and improve what we're doing there. I'd also like to see more bus services that can get us south. Like if I want to go to a county board meeting, there is no way that I can get from my house down to Hastings on a bus. Now, Eagan has done something absolutely fantastic recently. Wish we had it when my kids were at Eagan High School, because I live in the Cedar Grove area and my son went to Eagan High School. I was the last house on the district, and there was no way after sports for him to get a bus to get home. He would have to walk the 4 miles. And now they have these individual buses that'll come and pick you up and take you anywhere in the city of Eagan. And we need to expand that in the city or in the county of Dakota so that people who may be elderly, may not be handicapped, may not be able to drive, can get places that they need to go. It would be nice to start them just in other cities and see how it goes and expand it, because I think transportation can be the most important to get to work and to have health and well-being.
Laurie?
Well, public transportation is really important, and as our communities continue to grow and change, making sure that people can get around our communities the way that they want to is a priority. And what we're seeing from folks is that people want alternative to cars. We're seeing people asking for safe bike and pedestrian routes where we used to have 45-mile-an-hour roads. Now we have roads that we're working to rebuild so that the traffic is calmed so that people can walk and bike safely through our communities, and not just make it a recreation, but make it a way for people to get to destinations, to shopping, to church, to other amenities. This is what our community is asking for. And so that is a big priority. We as a board have asked, there's a number of transportation pedestrian improvements that have been on the docket, and our board has asked for those to be speeded up. We also, I think as a board, need to seriously look at increasing investments in our public transportation. The board had been part of the Metropolitan, or the Minnesota Valley Transit Authority, and broke that relationship, and I think that we should be part of the MVTA so that we can partner to work to find solutions. As Janine says, how do people really want to get around our communities now? Things have changed, and we need that kind of input from our businesses and individuals to find out what bus routes will work for folks.
Jimmy?
Thank you. That is an important question in my district, and the answer to that question of transportation is east and west connections. We are very lacking in the northern part of Dakota County with that east and west access, and I agree with Commissioner Halverson that we need to invest in public transportation. What I would do is what I normally do when there's topics that I'm not familiar with is I gather myself the people that do, the users of that, the people who are recipients of public transportation, who use that daily or within their lives for their grandmothers, however they get around, and I would ask them what they need and what they see, because they are the eyes and ears using it today. And we need to remember that they are the ones that we need to serve. And so the investment in transportation, public transportation, I think is vital in Dakota County. And again, we would need to listen to those that use them the most to get the best information to make decisions going forward.
Joe?
Well, I can't really argue with Jimmy. That's what we did. Jimmy, 3 years ago, we embarked, got public engagement, and began an effort to Jimmy's point. It takes as much as 3.5 hours to travel from Inver Grove Heights to Eagan via public transit, or from South St. Paul or West St. Paul, because buses don't go east-west. So starting 3 years ago, we did that public engagement process that Jimmy described. And we've embarked on several projects now to bring that cooperation to allow folks to travel east-west. Intervening in that, unfortunately, was a little thing called COVID, which kind of stopped, or almost stopped, public transit in its tracks. But now that we've hopefully moved past that, I think you're going to see those efforts underway and more effectively done. In addition to that, and Jimmy, we should talk offline about the Metropolitan Council. For those at home who don't know what that is, it is a major organization. It's a regional organization that handles 11 counties across the metro area with an over $1 billion budget. It's hugely involved in things like public transit as well as preservation of natural areas. It approves, so Mayor, when you do certain approvals at the city level, they still have to be signed on by organizations like the Metropolitan Council. That's why it's so important that we've improved our relationship with the Met Council, because as we talk about trying to improve those east-west connections, preserve natural areas, it's good to have great relationships with the Met Council.
The response order for the sixth question will be Joe Atkins, Jimmy Francis, Laurie Halverson, and Janine Hudson. And the sixth question is, are there changes to Dakota County's election process that you think should be made? If yes, what are they? If no, why not? Joe?
Thank you. Terrific question. And I think everyone wants to know that we have secure elections. They also want to have everyone who's eligible to vote be able to vote. So to ensure that that's happening, we've embarked on 4, and I actually made notes because I wanted to make sure that I had them all covered. In the last few months, we have, in response to new districts, the U.S. Census being done, we've updated the voter registry to ensure that we have accurate voter information for every voter in Dakota County. We've done a dedicated transmission line from each polling place directly to Dakota County. No intervening entities that could alter any results. We've embarked on consistent training for all of our election judges. So every single judge applies the rules exactly the same way. And then we've also adopted a consistent absentee ballot process to ensure that absentee ballots, every single one, is treated exactly the same. With those changes, I think that we will succeed in having both a secure election but also one where everyone who's eligible to vote is able to do so.
Jimmy?
Thank you. In regards to election, the county, I trust my county commissioner, or excuse me, my county clerk, with the utmost respect and knowledge that they have in elections. I say the same thing for the cities that the district serves in South St. Paul, West St. Paul, and Inver Grove Heights. Those city clerks are helping to ensure that fair election, working simultaneously and in conjunction with the county to make sure that it's fair and make sure that everybody has that opportunity to vote. I have quite a bit of history with voting, and so my trust is there implicit, but I want to express the fact that I do believe that our system is protected and for the best of our residents, and that the county clerk and the city clerks are high integrity and their ethics are beyond reproach. I really believe that, and I see that in the elections that I've been participating in and the elections that I've voted in. But my history comes from my city. The city of South St. Paul, where the first woman voter in the nation was, and it's grown from there. It's growing continuously because we have such pride in voting. We are one of the ones that show up the most in Dakota County to vote. And it's important, and it's a rite of passage, and it is so protected within our communities that I would continue to support that and continue to support the staff that make sure that all of our elections are fair and equitable.
Laurie?
Well, elections are nothing if not a hyper-local event. These are really about our neighbors gathering to choose their elected officials. And it is the people that really make our elections run. So, you know, first of all, thank you to the election judges, the people who spend their days and many hours a day making sure that our elections are run and run well. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters for engaging this year on election policy with Dakota County. As many people know, folks have been raising questions about elections nationally, and that has trickled down to local governments, and people want to know and understand the processes. And so Dakota County has fielded a lot of questions. We've had a lot of public comments and discussion at our board meetings about elections. And the questions that get asked always get a thorough and professional answer. And I've been really happy to see and not surprised to see that the answer is that our elections are well run, our elections are secure, and our elections are transparent, and we abide by all state and federal laws. The other thing is that state law really does protect our right to vote in many, many ways, and we need to be sure that locally we continue to maintain a priority for making sure that everybody who is eligible to vote gets to vote and their vote counts. The county chose not to have ballot boxes this year. I disagreed with that decision, but you can find ballot boxes locally at some cities.
Well, I have a wonderful opportunity here because I've been an election judge for about the last 20 years, and I've been a head election judge, and I've done it in Eagan for about the last 10 years. This year I was asked to be an election judge, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm running for office. And they said, well, you're not on the ballot. And I said, no, that's still not ethical, I'm not going to do that. But what happens when you're an election judge and there's an issue or a problem in the precinct that you're at is you have somebody from each party. So you'll have a Democrat and a Republican who will come over and assist that individual if they're blind, unable to vote, and help them vote. So they make sure that they get the person that they want on that ballot. Our ballots are all paper. We should never, ever, ever stop using paper. Even though they're electronically counted, if there's a problem with the machine, it's very easy to recount them. And as we found out in a governor election a few years ago, we can count them vote by vote by vote because they're in paper. What I want to see change in our election is people voting. I look at the primary. Laurie and I did not have a primary this year. I'm thankful for that one. But we didn't have a lot of people voting for the primary that we did have. And how we can change that, I'm hoping, is one, transportation. We need to be able to have our bus systems pick people up, bring them to the polls so that everybody can vote. That's the most important, and I hope you'll come out and vote for me this year. Thank you.
And that's going to bring us to closing statements. Candidates will have 2 minutes, and the response order is Janine Hudson, Laurie Halverson, Jimmy Francis, and Joe Atkins. Janine?
Well, I'm Janine Hudson. My specialty is human services, and they encompass public health, the developmentally delayed, mental health, child protection, homelessness, child care, elderly waivers, nursing homes, and WIC. I'm sure I'm missing something, but this is something that I have done my entire life. And there is no one else currently on the board or anybody running for county commissioner who has the experience that I do with social services. I hope to bring that expertise to people. I hope to listen to the community to see what they want, and when they come forward to speak to the board, I will understand what it is that they're talking about. And it's not that our board doesn't try hard, because they really do. It's a very complex system, has a lot of state and federal laws that impact everything that they do. I know many of those laws. So that is the expertise that I will bring to the board. If you have any questions or want to know anything about me, it's votejaninehudson.com, and there is a way you can email me on there, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. Thank you.
Laurie?
Well, thanks again for hosting tonight. Appreciate the work that the League of Women Voters does to bring candidate information and voter information to the public. Once again, I'm Laurie Halverson. I'm currently serving my first term as Dakota County Commissioner and running for re-election. I chose to run for Dakota County Board because this is really where public policy, the rubber meets the road on public policy. The state of Minnesota puts a lot of programs into place that the county is responsible for carrying out, and the federal government as well. And so we are making the choices about how to move forward with incredibly important policies and changes. And so taking on issues such as mental health and public health, and really being a leader statewide. Our public and nationwide, our public health department was actually recognized as being the best in the nation a few years ago. And making sure that we are not only providing the right resources, but providing the right supports to the folks that are carrying out those frontline duties and serving our communities. Having served at the legislature on health and human services, this is a policy area that is very near and dear to my heart. Other issues that we haven't touched on quite as deeply tonight, but would love to talk to folks more about, are ensuring that we make a priority to have equity in all policies. Racial equity is an issue that is existing in all of our communities, and we see inequitable results in many programs, inequitable access in programs that we provide at the county. And I've worked in my first couple years to make sure that outreach is happening, partnerships are happening, and we at the county board are learning about equity and making it a priority in all policies. And finally, there's an incredible impact that we have at the county board on climate and climate change, and that is another priority.
Jimmy?
Thank you again for everybody here that made this possible for us to be in this forum, and for you at home watching and taking notes and listening to what we have to say and doing that further research. I thank you for doing that and playing your part in voting this cycle. It's very important to us in the city of South St. Paul, and it's very important to the district of West St. Paul, South St. Paul, and Inver Grove Heights to have a forward-thinking commissioner in this role. It is something you can find on my website, forwardwithfrancis.com. Again, my phone number is 651-321-8348, and I'm here to listen. On my website, you'll see that I am listening. Those are my priorities: listening, mental health, public safety, and transportation. These are infrastructure items that we desperately need to be talking about our future. We can always, it's fun to live in nostalgia and think about the past and talk about all the history that we have. But in reality, we need to live with the data and the information we have today for tomorrow. The role of a commissioner is for the future, to make plans and to do policy and to work together with the communities that we serve and to serve the entire Dakota County in a 50,000-foot level and for the future. And so as a nonpartisan mayor of the city of South St. Paul, doing that work collaboratively for the past 6 years, In working with West St. Paul and South St. Paul and Inver Grove Heights, I feel that I am the best candidate and your choice this November. So please, if you have more information or more questions about the things I stand for or want to talk more, I'm readily accessible. And come November, I ask for your vote. Jimmy Francis, County Commissioner. Thank you so much.
Joe?
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, Lynn, and thank you so much for hosting us, to the production crew as well. We appreciate you having us. So I grew up here. My wife Julie and I grew up, went to school, church here. We chose to raise our family here. If we're really serious about looking forward, if we really care about our children and grandchildren, then that initial statement that I made at the outset, where I said I'm going to blow your socks off. By the way, nobody has socks on in the room anymore. But we actually have paid off all of the county's debt. It frees up, we're one of the only counties in the country to have achieved that. As a result, it frees up all of those dollars that would normally be paid for interest and principal. The average across the metro area, over $200 million in debt. That means over $20 million a year that gets paid in interest and principal. Those dollars are freed up for things like public safety, for public health, for award-winning parks and libraries, for transportation, for all the things that my opponent wants to talk about. Those are the things that we're working on because we've managed to pay off all of the county's debt. In addition, one of the questions we didn't get to was about affordability of housing, and I know that's a key concern for so many. One thing about Dakota County, if you compare our property taxes to our neighboring counties, they're $1,000 a year less. That makes your housing more affordable. We are the lowest tax county of any county in Minnesota. As a result of some great work by the county board, great work by our staff, but also tremendous volunteers who save our county and our county's taxpayers anywhere from $670,000 a year to over $1 million a year. It's as a result of those efforts that we've got a county that's moving forward, that's making progress. And for those reasons, I'm Joe Atkins, and I would appreciate your support for re-election as a Dakota County Commissioner.
The League of Women Voters, Dakota County, would like to thank everyone for participating in our forum. We'd especially like to thank our candidates for being part of the democratic process by running for office and for being willing to serve our community. The League of Women Voters also researches issues that are important to our members and to the health of our communities. If you're interested in finding out more about what we do and how you can make a difference, please visit us at lwvdakotacounty.org. You can find more information about voting and the candidates at mnvotes.org and Vote 411. Again, thanks for viewing, and remember to vote by November 8.